I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get hurt again by ASU basketball.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. And stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And today we are switching it up. If you have not been paying attention, we just did a 2-week series on breaking down every position for ASU football. So if you're curious about quarterback, if you're curious about linebacker, if you're curious about the offensive line, check it out. Get up to date. We are preparing for the summer. But right now, we are going back to the court. We are looking at ASU basketball. We are looking at everything that's coming in, from the returners to the transfers to the incoming freshman class to Bobby Hurley and the docuseries, and everything that makes me think that it's okay and it's me willing to get excited and hurt again by Sun Devils basketball. I think this is the year. 2 years ago, they were absolutely loaded through the transfer portal and were surprisingly competitive when you had the Cambridge brothers, Warren Washington, Frankie Collins. They were a very competitive team, but pretty much all of them leave. Frankie Collins comes back. They attacked the transfer portal again last year. Not as much success. Going into this year, it's still a team that brought a lot of transfers in. 5 transfers. But they bring back 2 key players, and this recruiting class is one of the best that ASU has ever had. Everything is coming together for ASU that makes me think that, this might be the year that ASU finally gets it figured out. And honestly, you kind of need to this year for a variety of reasons, but perhaps the biggest reason is you're going to the Big 12. And the Big 12 is now arguably the best conference for college basketball. You got Kansas, Arizona, who else? Houston is in that conference. That's 3 powerhouse programs right there. And I know I'm forgetting some others off the top of my head, but ASU absolutely needed to load up so that they don't drop all the way to the cellar of the conference. You want to make a good first impression, and you want to show off that, hey, we are going to be competitive and we are going to be one of the teams, one of the programs in this conference that's going to contend for not the Pac-12 tournament, for the NCAA tournament on a yearly basis. This was absolutely the year you need to showcase and advertise yourself. They're doing everything right. And we'll take a look at the additions that ASU brought in first. We're going to take a look at the guys who are back. And there's a handful of guys, but to me, there's 3 key returners right here. Adam Miller, Sean Phillips, Bryson Long. Those are the 3 biggest players that are coming back. And with Adam Miller, this kid's exciting. He is someone that can shoot all over the court. He can be a really good deep shooter. He's someone that I have I won't say high expectations, but I am really excited to see what he can do in year 2 for Arizona State. And he was really hot and cold last year. There were games where he was unstoppable, and there were games where he just did not do anything. You're hoping with his second year now at Arizona State that things are going to click a little more for him. He definitely was in a situation where he wasn't expected to be able to play because of the NCAA's 2-time transfer policy. He does get that eligibility probably threw him off the rhythm a little bit. But he's going to have a full offseason to continue preparing to work for this team. I think there's a chance for him to take a big step forward this year. Sean Phillips, he was dealing with some bang-up injuries throughout the year. I know he got banged up very early on in the season and missed a handful of games. He is your biggest player. He's a 6'11" or 7-footer. He's big and strong and someone that is going to be able to attack the glass and be a good rebounder for the team. And that's very, very necessary for Arizona State, is to have somebody that can attack the glass. Bryson Long is back. Long was injured for just about the whole year. But the one thing that he looked really good at was shooting three-pointers. And we're going to talk more about the holes that are being filled here. But the bottom line is those are your three key returners. They could all be starters. I anticipate Adam Miller to be a starter for sure. Sean Phillips, we'll see. He was in a reserve role last year. Bryson Long missed a lot of the season, but he was like your sixth man, your seventh man off the bench. They should all have really good roles. Now, I do understand that you lost Frankie Collins and you lost Jemiah Neal, which are big losses. You lost arguably your two best players, but you bring those guys back. You bring in some big transfers too. The biggest transfer for me, probably Alston Mason, coming from Missouri State, someone who was hyper productive during his time there and should be able to kind of fill that void that you are losing with Frankie Collins. If he can run the point, he's definitely someone that can score points. So you're looking for him to kind of inherit that role. You also have a four-star transfer Alston Mason was also a four-star transfer. You're bringing in a four-star transfer in BJ Freeman. He's bringing some size for you at 6'6", 180 pounds. He is coming from Milwaukee. Excited for him, if for no other reason than just being able to bring that size. Bashir Jihad is coming from Ball State, another dude who was able to have a lot of production during his time there. Brandon Gardner, a former four-star recruit out of high school, did not get almost any time with USC, only appeared in one game last year. He's coming to ASU. He's 6'8", 210 pounds, adding size. And then the one that was most intriguing was Austin Nunez. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because 2 years ago, he was with Arizona State. And he was somebody that came off the bench and provided a little bit of deep shooting for you. He is back. He is all in on Arizona State. He was at Ole Miss last year, didn't get on the court, entered the transfer portal and said, yeah, I'm going home. I'm going to Arizona State. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Love that he has that desire and he wants to be able to prove himself coming back to Arizona State. This is a very talented kid who should be able to bring in some very good deep shooting. And that's something that ASU has really struggled with. And you look at some of the holes they filled, and we can start with deep shooting and being able to hit the three-pointers and all that good stuff. And Austin Nunez is near the top of that list because when he was a freshman here, that was kind of his strength. That was the one thing that you saw from him and you go, yeah, no, I can trust him to be able to come on the court for X amount of minutes and put up 2 or 3 shots from deep, and he makes, I don't know, 1 or 2 of the 2 or 3 shots. Like, that's what you're looking for out of him. I don't know if he's a full-time starter just yet. He could definitely grow into that role, especially if he proves his ability to really just shoot from anywhere on the court. Very excited about Austin Nunez coming back. I'm also excited to see if Adam Miller can develop. We saw glimpses of how dominant he can be. Is he ready to become that full-time player for Arizona State and that guy who can lead the team in scoring? He was still one of your better scorers last year, but he was so hot and cold. If he's able to really just master his craft and become a consistent player on a game-by-game basis, you're going to have a dude who's going to average 15, 16 points a game, maybe even a little more than that. This is a very telling year for Austin Nunez. Not even for Arizona State, but for the entirety of his career in college basketball. If there is a future for him in the pros or anywhere else, this is the year where he really needs to put it all together. I think that this is also a player that can really turn into a great three-point shooter. There's absolutely the talent there, and he's not afraid to shoot it. Last guy for the deep shooters, Bryson Long. He looked like a really good deep shooter last year. I want to say he made his first 6 or 10 3-points. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was unstoppable from deep. You have him back as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a beast. The last thing, as far as filling holes go, before we start talking about the recruiting class that's coming in, is adding size. ASU was a team that ran a lot of small ball last year, and it led to them not being a good rebounding team. And it led to their opponents getting second chances, third chances, fourth chances, because ASU just could not post up. It was at a point where you are physically limited in your ability to go up. That is hopefully changing because you bring in a lot of tall players. Just from this transfer class, Brandon Gardner, 6'8", BJ Freeman, 6'6", Bashir Jihad, 6'9". Your incoming recruiting class, everybody is 6'4" or taller. And you got two kids who are 6'8", and you've got the prized possession of your class, who we'll talk more about, who's a 6'9" center. ASU added size. You're hoping that this ends up becoming a team that is much more aggressive off the backboard and able to bring down those rebounds offensively, defensively. This is also a Sun Devils team that's not afraid to do a lot of presses, whether it's a full court press or whatever defense they line up in. They do a really good job defensively. It's just they don't get the rebounds, and at some point that's gonna bite you in the butt. And that was the case for ASU last year. They need to be able to clean that up. This is definitely the step forward that you wanted to see from this unit. You wanted to see that they were going to be aggressive and trying to be better and trying to get taller and bigger and stronger, and they definitely seem to do that. But the recruiting class is what has my full and undivided attention. We're going to take a closer look at that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. When it comes to your financial future, you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses, Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They're the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets great investors apart, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures that you have the insight to look into your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in as always, making us your first listen of the day, and a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Getting back into the show now, we're going to talk about this recruiting class because, my goodness, this is a good group. the number 13 overall class according to 24/7, and the number 8 composite class. This is one of the best recruiting classes that ASU has ever put together. And there was a very common theme. There were two common themes. The first, like I mentioned, was getting some size. So you've got 4 players coming in with this recruiting class. You've got Amir Ali, a 6'8", 175 forward, Sammy Yane, a 6'8", 230-pound forward, Bo Aldridge, a 6'4", 190-pound guard, and the prized possession of the class, center Jayden Quaintance, 6'9", 230 pounds, the number 9 recruit in the country, ladies and gentlemen. A common theme here was size. I mentioned previously, the smallest guy here is Bo Aldridge at 6'4", but he's 190 pounds. So he's not necessarily a small dude. He's still going to be able to be someone that can go up and get it. But you add Sammy Yane and Amir Ali, both 6'8" guys. You add Jayden Quaintance, a 6'9", 230-pound center. That is seriously improving what is a weakness for Arizona State. Like we said, this is a group that was not good rebounding last year. They were not a team that was necessarily a threat to go up and get those boards. You needed to add a lot of size. They did that through the transfer portal. They are attacking it through their recruiting class. You've got some big guys that are returning. This should be, in theory and on paper, a Sun Devils team that is going to be much better in the rebounding department. And hopefully that can turn into more stuff as well. You can hope that the defense ends up taking a big step forward. You can hope that you are just going to be a more physically imposing team, not just from a size standpoint, but from a play standpoint. You got guys as big as Sammy Yane, Jayden Quaintance, Brandon Gardner. You should be a more physically imposing team, one that teams aren't going to be looking at as, really, really easy to take down or anything like that. That's what you're hoping you can end up getting out of this team. And I'm really excited for the size. The other common theme is activate the Valley because, ladies and gentlemen, Amir Ali, Sammy Yane, Bo Aldridge, they're local kids. Amir Ali, Canyon International Academy in Glendale, Sammy Yane, Compass Prep in Chandler, and Bo Aldridge, Phoenix Prep in Phoenix. It's all about activating the Valley, baby. It's all about it. Kenny Dillingham was one of the first to market the phrase activate the Valley. We have seen since then ASU football getting the kids to stay home or bringing the kids home. Bobby Hurley has not been afraid to add homegrown talent, but you're starting to see that things are really taking off in that department for ASU sports, and the basketball team really put an emphasis on that this year. Of your 4 incoming freshmen, 3 of them are local kids. That's big, man, and that's going to draw the attention of some of the other guys that are going to be in future classes or even transfers from local schools that maybe are looking to come back home for whenever the portal opens up again. It's a big statement here from Bobby Hurley that says, yeah, we are interested in keeping these guys home. We are interested in building our name, on building our image, and building our likeness in the form of these homegrown kids. It's huge. That's what it's all about. Keep these guys home. Bobby Hurley's all about it. And again, this isn't the first time that he has dipped into the homegrown talent. Marcus Bagley a few years ago was a kid out of Chandler, I believe. He's not been afraid to add the really talented homegrown kids. Now you're hoping that he continues to do it. But transferring to Jayden Quaintance now. this is the highest rated recruit ASU basketball has ever landed. At least in the time of the recruiting, the star ranking and everything, Quaintance is the highest rated guy. A consensus 5-star player across every single recruiting platform, the number 9 product in the nation in consensus. Again, number 2 center, number 1 from the state of North Carolina. This is the guy that you should be able to build this team around. Not just from like the standpoint of him as a freshman either, because he reclassified to be in the 2024 recruiting class. He has to play 2 years of collegiate basketball. If you can keep him home, if you can keep him at Arizona State for both of those years, it's going to do a lot of different things for you. For one, you're just going to be more competitive. You're going to have an A-plus player on the court. You, in theory, just added one of the best young players in college basketball to your program. But there's a chance that you could have him for 2 years. As long as he's happy here, as long as there's been nothing but opportunities for him to succeed, there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to stay here. I mean, unless he gets a call from like Kansas or any of the other big name programs in the country, there's a chance that you get Quaintance for 2 years and he could end up being one of the best players that the program has seen in the last 5 to 10 years. There's nothing but upside here with Jayden Quaintance. And him alone, if we're being honest, just Jayden Quaintance should get people off of the couch and invested in this program again. You're really hoping that Quaintance is going to be the spark that gets ASU basketball on track. ASU's never been known as a powerhouse basketball team, and it's going to take a long time before they ever get to that point. But if they are going to start getting on track, if there is going to be one player to help them get to that point, Jayden Quaintance is a great start. And it's not a guarantee for anything because, I mean, a few years ago, they added Josh Christopher, who was the previous highest rated recruit for the program, and he wasn't able to get ASU to that promised land. He was still a very good player at ASU, but he didn't get the ball rolling necessarily. There's been very good players to come through the program. You're just hoping that ASU can finally nail it with Jayden Quaintance. And there is a chance, there is a possibility. But the good news for ASU is they seem to have everything locked down from an NIL standpoint. From my understanding, Quaintance is going to be making like $1 million or something like that. They are getting it figured out in the NIL department, which is where we're going to steer this conversation next as we begin wrapping up the podcast. It's taking a look at how NIL is starting to get figured out, and hopefully this is going to wake up Bobby Hurley. We're going to jump into it in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. One more time, wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's wrap up the podcast now and take a look at the NIL that is potentially going to be getting rolling here. The biggest step was finally getting your new athletic director, who, of course, his name is escaping me at the moment. I will be pulling it up as we sit here and talk. Graham Rossini. There we go. Graham Rossini coming in, 20 years of experience. He's been at ASU. He's an ASU alum. He's got baseball experience with the Arizona Diamondbacks. he's got what we're looking for. This is hopefully going to be the move that starts really getting things to snowball for you, excuse me. I understand that this wasn't the groundbreaking hire that a lot of us were hoping for, especially because it was an in-house hire. And I know a lot of people were really upset about that, but we have to be able to give him the benefit of the doubt. There's no use in getting upset over the Rossini hire if we're not going to give him a chance. This is hopefully someone that understands the landscape in the way that Ray Anderson did not, and start getting things involved. And we've started to see things trend in the right direction there. ASU signed their deal with Mountain America to rename the Sun Devil Stadium, and that brought in millions of dollars that got invested into all sorts of different athletic departments. You're hoping that this new athletic director will continue to make those moves and continue to make the investments and find ways to bring in more money for the programs. And then you take a look at NIL. And this is hopefully a movement that ASU can start taking to activate the Valley and get people, like I said, get them off the couch, get them invested, go to the games, join the Sun Angel Collective, all that good stuff. Start getting Arizona State the opportunity to recruit some of the bigger names. One of the biggest reasons you were able to land Jayden Quaintance, more than likely, I won't say for sure, but probably the NIL was something that was attractive, not just to him, but for other players too. You see a lot of programs that are just able to offer more than what ASU has been previously been able to offer these guys. It's not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that ASU is suddenly recruiting at a high rate. They're bringing in really good players for football. They're bringing in really good players for basketball now. Hopefully ASU baseball starts to get turned around. They really came on down the stretch. Here's hoping that they can make it to regionals. I know they lost to Oregon State today, but here's hoping that they're able to get there. You just got one of the top hockey recruits in the country. This is a university that's offering a little bit of everything, and there's a chance that it's going to get people to really start investing. And from a basketball standpoint, that could really help you start getting more highly recruited 4-stars and maybe even 5-stars on a consistent basis. This is the second 5-star that ASU has landed under Bobby Hurley, and they've had a countless number of high 4-star recruits that Bobby Hurley has been able to bring in. Dude can recruit. It's a matter of getting these kids to stay, and one of the biggest things that can get them to stay is NIL opportunities. It's not even making millions of dollars. It's just the opportunity for them to make some money. It's an opportunity for them to market themselves, to become hometown heroes and guys that we talk about 5-10 years down the road as we look back and we go, man, remember Bo Aldrich? He was such a good player for ASU. Man, I'm such a fan of his. I hope that he's balling out wherever he is. You guys remember Jayden Quaintance, the guy that they brought in, the 5-star recruit? Oh, man, that was so cool when they got him in. That's the kind of momentum you want to start building for yourself, is getting people invested and getting them off the couch, for the third time that I've said that, getting them to the stadium, getting them to the Sun Angel Collective, whatever it is. This is the hope that you have. And of course, you got the Bobby Hurley docuseries that's coming up as well on Netflix. That's going to cover him at Arizona State. It's going to cover him with his career from being a player to being a coach. Should be a lot of fun. I will be tuning in for sure. But it leads me to my last point here, and it's this. Is this the last chance for Bobby Hurley? He's got the 2-year extension in place. I don't know the details of the contract because I'm not very in tune when it comes to that stuff. But this feels like a last dance for Bobby Hurley. He needs to win. The recruiting's not enough. because he's brought in tons of good recruits and it hasn't turned into a ton of success. This needs to be the year that things click for ASU. You're going to a new conference. You're bringing in a ton of former high recruited players from the transfer portal, a ton of very highly recruited players through your recruiting class. You're bringing back several key players for the team. This needs to be the year that things click for ASU. You need to find a way to be in the top half of the Big 12. You need to find a way to be one of the better teams in the Big 12. You need to be a program that can contend, not beat, but you need to be able to contend with some of the better teams in the conference. The Kansases, the Arizonas, the Houstons. You need to be able to rock them and get them actually respecting your program. No one respects ASU basketball right now, and for good reason. They're not a good basketball program, but it's time to turn that around. This feels like Bobby's last chance to get them to that point. And I am excited. And I do think that if there was ever a year to do it, this is the year. But this is a lot of pressure on Bobby Hurley, because if they fall flat again, you're going to see a ton of movement, probably some transfers. You are going to see people care even less about basketball than they do right now, and he could end up getting fired. There's a lot of pressure here. And I do think that this team is equipped to be able to overcome the pressure that is being placed on Coach Hurley's shoulders. But I'm excited for this team. And like I said at the top of the show, I'm ready to get hurt again. But unlike last year, where I came into it and I said, look, you're kind of hoping you strike lightning in a bottle twice. You are now going into this year and you're saying, like, hey, there's no excuse. There's too much talent on this team to not be competitive. That's where I stand with it. I'm ready to get hurt again. It's too talented of a team. If they fumble it, you got to blow it up. But what do you guys think about ASU basketball? Are you all in? Are you ready to invest yourself? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils, wherever you're getting your shows. Hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Stay in touch by following me on Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Guys, we're still going to be nice and active for the rest of the month. We're going to find stuff to talk about. I've got some stuff behind the scenes that I'm planning that's going to be really exciting. So I encourage you guys to stick around. It's going to be a good time. I'll see you next time. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.